you want a quick engineering update? The big topics in the world of hemi engineering are, well, all sorts of ZK stuff, which is, if Marco wants to say something more about that, he is welcome to talk about that particular black magic. And there's a big push on security. We want to, get things where it should be security wise, where, the thing with security is there's a lot to do right, and we want to make sure we're trying to do better than, there's the standard, and for security, you kind of got to do better than that. So we're looking at all sorts of different things, both, clean up, proactive, all sorts of shit. Just, big push there. And those are really the main threads of what we're doing on the, protocol engineering front. We still have some big updates coming for the V2 of the software, which is done but hasn't actually been fully deployed, and the pop miner payouts, not points. Redact that word points from it. That's not what I meant. Pop payout stuff. And those are really the main things.
You want me to do a yammer for a minute about ZK?
Yes, ZK it up.
So ZK, from a it's an actually very interesting problem from a computer science perspective. It's big data, so millions, if not billions, of records, and lots of memory and lots of things. So what we're trying to get to is to reduce the data in the queries to be manageable by several machines. So that's where we're at right now. We have come up with a way of indexing basically the entire Bitcoin blockchain and making that data available in sub-second queries. So, and the point of that is that you can then essentially create a snapshot of what Bitcoin looked at what height or at what block hash. And with that, you can prove all kinds of cool things. So, so we are right now in the process of tackling the big data side of that equation. And actually, Joshua is about to begin hacking on the ZK provability part, which is going to be a bunch of Rust code that is going to run RISC Zero. I think those are the big things that are happening in the ZK world, and it's going to go on for definitely a few more weeks. It's a big problem. Lots of engineering happening on there. Lots of new code being introduced. So, and we also have to validate it all. It's just a big task. But it's also a new, actually. I didn't want to say that. So this is something that does not exist at large for Bitcoin. So this will be a new invention that is going to drop. And I do think that it's going to be transformative to Bitcoin. So with this, once you have this data distilled and provable, you can. It really opens up a big realm of possibilities for Bitcoin. I think it's going to be very exciting once we drop this code, and we are going to see people use it in ways that we have never anticipated. So bright future with the ZK stuff. John?
The RISC Zero thing is super cool. Like, I kind of think it's awesome that, it's both, people are doing it in software for the ZK stuff, but I mean, it's a, kind of cool hardware thing too, the whole RISC Zero world, which is not the part of what we're using, but, after ARMS didn't really go the direction I would have hoped, and complete another shit show that is everything Intel has done in the last, I don't know, Marco, 20 years?
Last always,
even better. Kind of love that there's another processor architecture out there.
Right.
One that...
Well, but RISC Zero is a very interesting architecture from a, because it's RISC-V based. And what they did, though, with the RISC Zero thing is they took a virtual machine and they stripped it down to native components that you can then ZK proof. And what's really super cool about this is that they've taken the ZK proving to a whole different level. If we rewind a couple of years back, people were talking about using masts, so Merkleized ASTs. An AST is what happens when you execute a program. You get basically a graph of how the code executed through the stack, and but that was going to be done at a higher level, more at the script level. So think Python, not assembly. So in what RISC Zero did is they went really far and they said, okay, this is actually a compiled piece of code, and it runs RISC-V instructions, and that virtual machine is called RISC Zero. And then at the end of an execution, you can prove that the memory is correct, that all the registers have the correct states, and so it's much deeper as a ZK proving system than a script-based version ever would be. It is spectacularly complex and super fun engineering problem to work on.
All right. I didn't know if you guys were done talking. So yeah.
There'll be a quiz later.
Over.
Oh, shit. Let's wait till after I learn crypto tomorrow, and then, or at least start to, and then we can quiz me. Let's hop into questions.
Well, actually, wait, Rick, did we ever mention that that other sort of engineering plus community project we're working on?
We did not. Would you like to share some info?
Sure. So, since not everyone is on the same page crypto-wise, some of us have been doing this for, well, since, for the record, people don't realize this yet, but in crypto you age in dog years. So some of us have been working on this in dog years for, 70 plus years, if you want to count it that way. And other people are relatively new at this. So we're trying to catch, using Rick as our guinea pig. We're going to do some, I guess, recordings, however you want to look at it, of, going through some basic up to more advanced practical crypto concepts with Rick, where protocol engineering, initially me and Joshua, but later on we'll probably pull other people in, teaching Rick about some of the crypto, some both practical and theoretical things about crypto.
So basically, it's like if they can teach me, they can teach anyone. So it's something for people that's easily digestible if you're like just getting into the space, or if you're like me, who's been head of community for over a year, and you really need to learn the stuff. Well, that's great. So yeah, we're gonna start kicking that off tomorrow, which I'm very excited about and a little terrified. All right, hopping into questions. When is the h-bitVM white paper releasing?
Okay, that one. So I've been spending the last 2 days doing what is hopefully sort of final proofreading / revision / did we spell all the goddamn words right? So that part of it is almost done, and there's just one little bit that Max has to finish up writing on. So it is very close. Like literally 70% of it is just in the final proofreading stage, and maybe 20% of it is we need a little more from Max, and that's it. So other than were it not for travel wise, this would be very, very quick. But it's Max the way that slows us down a little.
Jesus, take that, Max. I'm just kidding. All right. How are h-bitVM tunnels different from Hemi's current tunnels?
I guess I will take a stab at that one too. So the current tunnels that Hemi uses are, there's over-collateralized multisigs. They're not that different than what anything else in the space can do. h-bitVM is what lets us do tunnels in more actually capital efficient ways, where they're the way you want to do them. h-bitVM is the way we want to do them, and the current version is sort of the hack for how we can do them right now.
All right. On to a section called Hemi. All right. Some people have been trading their VE Hemi NFTs. Is an address allowed to own multiple of those NFTs?
I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think so. But at the same time, we could also, treat this the way the Bitcoin version did, where sometimes using multiple addresses is good for your own either, privacy, traceability. Although none of this stuff is private. If there's only Monero's private. But yeah, I mean, there's no technical reason, but you may want to, depending on your personal security posture, you may have reasons to split things up more.
All right. Let's see. Any updates on when governance tools like Slapshots, Aragon, etc. will be available on Hemi?
No.
All right.
Yes, Rick.
Sorry, that was great.
Would you like to answer another? We could go in another language. How about 9? 9.
Okay, so perfect. We'll accept it. Sorry, Alex. What were you saying?
No, I just saying about governance tool. We are working actually with Air to Discord bot. We will be able to automatize on-chain action to send funds after a proposal. So we make a tool. It will be a little tool, but normally before Christmas we will have something to release.
That's awesome. Exciting things happening in the world of hair. All right. Back to the Hemi section. Are there any plans to support .hvm and .hemi addresses across Hemi?
I don't actually know what that question means.
Okay. We will move on and save that for when Max returns.
I just don't understand it.
No, that's totally fine.
What's this Hemi thing we keep talking about? Come on.
Right. Joss says they believe they're referring to ENS names.
No, I mean I actually understand the ENS name part of it. What do you mean supported across Hemi?
I'm guessing they're referring to the portal or things like Stargate or something. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know that we have any particular. If you mean the portal, so dealing with it on our front end, I don't actually know that we have any immediate plans for that. I don't know if there's any. Yeah, I'm not aware of any immediate plans for that. That doesn't mean if it couldn't be added if someone came up with a really compelling reason for it.
All right. Here's one. How does Hemi guarantee deterministic, consensus-safe synchronization of the Bitcoin state across all HVM nodes, especially in the face of Bitcoin reorgs, partial indexing, or node desync? And what trade-offs, confirmation delays, pruning, gas limits were made to achieve this?
Right, I can speak to this one a little bit. So the question was way too long for me to remember all the constituent parts. But step one is that we actually are lagging 2 blocks behind on Bitcoin. So that already resolves about 99% of all the forking things. So that adds a 20 minutes additional delay on consensus. So that the number 2 was picked because that seems to be pretty reasonable. So you very rarely see these days, at least, more than 2 blocks reorg, and we have a special mode in our Bitcoin parts where we move the blockchain forward as we like, not as it is happening on P2P. So we basically have a P2P node that is doing all the things as they happen, and then we have one that actually moves forward based on what we expect. That does mean that all the other nodes then also know what that means. That's how they are kept in sync because they're all moved forwards at the same time. So there is it's what in the code is called headers only mode, and with that, our h-bitVM tells the Bitcoin state to essentially progress to a new value or to a higher value. Now, if we do find a fork that is deeper than we'd like, so more than 2 blocks, then we will have to unwind the Bitcoin blockchain and essentially create a new canonical tip. But that happens also within h-bitVM, so it directs how far back it goes and what the new tip has become. So that is how we keep that in sync. And I know there were 4 more additional questions, and I don't remember them.
Okay. So how does Hemi guarantee the deterministic consensus synchronization across h-bitVM nodes? And what trade-offs were made to achieve this?
So the trade-off is the 2-block delay. That is the big trade-off.
Awesome. All right. Moving right along. Node running. There we go. I'd like to run a Hemi op-geth node as described in the local node /node_running file. It mentions that I need 2 settings, geth L1 endpoint and prism endpoint, prism spelled with a Y. Where can I get those endpoints, or is running the full profile the only viable option right now?
All right. So pretty much you should almost certainly do not want to run full. Like that's not something you want to do. So for those 2 nodes, basically find any place that you can get an Ethereum RPC endpoint is where you would get that. So you could run your own geth node. It is doable. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but you can do it. It takes a lot of, you need a lot of fast disk space for it. Or you can get paid, you probably need a paid one if you want it to have any reasonable limits. The same places you can get a Hemi RPC, so quick nodes, DRPC, DIN, all of those are very good options for getting your geth data, which would be both geth and prism. And yep, you have to follow your provider's documentation for how to set that part up, and then just point your Hemi Docker stuff to that.
All right. Thank you.
So John, I do think that this is going to change pretty drastically with V2, though, right? You want to speak a little bit to that?
Yes, please. Speak V2. Yes.
No, not me.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you. Somebody was not me. I only wrote the code. I don't know how y'all set up the running parts in Docker and all that.
Well, so the part that V2 fixes the Bitcoin stuff a lot. Like there's some Bitcoin endpoints you can set, and with V2 we've simplified what goes into running a Hemi node because TBC, right, Marco? Have the right letters?
TBC, Tiny Bitcoin.
Yes. So you've got TBC that handles the Bitcoin stuff on its own, so there's a bunch of less things that you need to set. And all of that code, once V2 gets deployed, which will be any day now, you'll see in the new Hemi node repo, which is where you should be looking if you want to run a node. It's no longer, we've pulled that out, thanks to some work of Joshua's, that has gotten pulled out of the big Hemi network repo, and there's now just a Hemi node repo you can use if you're running a node yourself. And that contains the Docker and all the other assorted thingies that go with that. And V2 will be coming to that repo very soon.
I have a follow-up about V2, which you may have just answered, but I'm going to ask anyway. How will V2 change the node running files?
So it's what I said there. It's going to get rid of a lot of the Bitcoin stuff because GBC, our embedded Bitcoin client now does the things it should do. and it means it's going to simplify those files. There'll be a couple containers you don't need anymore. But for someone who's just running it, you are just going to run, you're still going to be running a Docker compose, or, if you prefer one of the other alternatives, the, Joshua, what's the one that you prefer for running Docker? Well, whatever it is. The
Podman?
Yep. Yes, thank you. Podman. But still, you're running the same Docker. You're still running the same compose file. It'll just be the newer, updated one of it that has less containers. So better for you, but mechanically similar what you do.
Well, and BSS goes away. There's just a lot less chatter between other things. So the communication between all daemons became circular in a good way. So there is no reach around, which we were doing in several places, which was just essentially wrong, but needed to get going. So it you can do without some things, but what it boils down to is it's drastically simpler than it used to be, and also requires drastically less hardware to even run the whole thing. So overall, just nicer and better and easier.
That may have answered my next question, which is why are the node running files moving from local node to a dedicated repository?
It basically because we decided it was always a little confusing for people. You had to git clone a large pile of stuff that if you're just running a node you didn't care about. And then when we want to actually tag releases, which I know some people in the community were, I don't want to say enthusiastic about telling us how we should tag things because that sounds positive. But there were some strong opinions there, some of which we agree with, some of which were wrong. But either way, it lets us actually manage things and tag things in a way that will be clearer to people. Having it all mixed in together meant there was this chicken and egg thing where Hemi node was always going to be the node running stuff was always going to be lagging the actual files that existed in the rest of the repository, and there was no way to sync them up properly, so there was always going to be one commit where one was updated but not the other, and that doesn't help anyone. So this is the cleaner, clearer way to do it. And hopefully easier for everyone.
Wait. Hey.
But wait.
Oh, there's more?
No, you just said wait. I wanted to go that way.
I thought there was more. All right. In V2, pop miners now require a TBC daemon. Does Hemi plan on providing a hosted TBC daemon, or do pop miners need to run TBC themselves?
So I think the answer is yes. We are going to open up a couple of nodes where you can ask the keystone question. I think that's a yes. Running a TBC daemon with this enabled though is relatively simple. So it's that will not be a huge deal for anybody who is familiar with Docker. It's just running it alongside. And if I may speak a little bit about security, you should run your own. You should not trust somebody else's endpoint that for some or other weird reason, some DNS exploit points you elsewhere, etc. I don't think we need to go any deeper than that, but it is always wise. And for the low cost of less than 1 terabyte, you can have your very own TBC node with keystones indexers.
Yeah, I have to agree with Marco there. When it comes down to it, the more you can run yourself, the better always. Just as a general rule. And that doesn't just extend to Hemi. That extends to as much of your computing as you can do. Like, they say the cloud is just someone else's computer. That's both true, and that doesn't necessarily mean you can trust that someone else.
All right. What is the protocol engineering team responsible for?
Protocol engineering.
Perfect.
Engineer
all right.
protocol.
Okay.
Did you want a better answer than that?
Yes. Can you give a better, an actual answer to the question instead of engineering protocols?
Well, the protocol engineering team writes the core daemons. So, and so we don't do the, any of the front end stuff, anything that's pretty. So if it's pretty, it probably does not originate from this team. We don't do the web stuff, but we are responsible for the daemons that actually run the Hemi network, and that because of that, we're also very close to the infrastructure parts for it. And yes, Joshua, backend can be pretty too with the right person. Is our backend code pretty? That is a different question, but I think some of it is. Hopefully more of it. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Vast majority is gorgeous. Some of it is very, let's call it advanced vroom vroom. So when you do performance optimizations, you lose readability, and that is a fact of life. So if you look, for example, at the indexers are really hard to read and hard to wrap your head around, but that is unfortunately by design and not the intent. But in order to gain the performance needed, it was really truly required to make some compromises with readability.
I mean that's sort of the reason. Oh, sorry, finish.
No, and I was going to react to Joshua because Joshua and I have a very vastly different way of calling something pretty. So that there's always that dichotomy going on. So I'm an old school kernel curmudgeon. So I view the world in small numbers. And Joshua is an old, he started out as a Java guy, so he likes very long variable names. So in somewhere between those two, I guess there's the truth. And Joshua and I are still trying to find our middle ground on that one.
And I was going to just say that the optimization speed stuff versus prettiness is kind of largely the reason for that quote that's always misattributed to Knuth about premature optimization being the root of all evil. That's kind of the reason, the thinking behind that statement, that sometimes to optimize things you got to make things not the pretty way you'd like them, but that's the way that works for speed.
Yep, unfortunately, that's a reality. And there's also another thing that goes on though is the code is also massively parallel, and with that comes another level of pain in readability. But so that one is also encouraged. But what is it called? What you call that? The cost to play must be distilled to ride.
Oh, and on the variable length name, I just want to remind people, in Fortran, you get what, like 6 characters for your variable names? And that is the way God intended it.
I have to agree with that. It's like tabs are 8 and not 2 animals.
Very strong opinions. Jesus. All right. So what you're saying is you guys engineer protocols.
We do. And then we
Perfect.
protocol engineer them.
There you go. All right. Perfect. See, why don't you just say that to begin with? I'll just begin with you. Do you think Hemi could enable tunneling between other chains like Monero and Hemi in the future?
I'll take that one. So let's not use Monero as the example here because that is an outlier. The ZK proving stuff that is going to show up is going to enable, at the very least, Bitcoin and Ethereum based chains. So with that, also a whole bunch of the stuff that's ECDSA or SecP256K1 signatures will be enabled as well. So the answer is, I think, yes, Monero is special and will require a little bit of tooling because they have ring signatures instead of what virtually everyone else uses in blockchain. And I hope actually that somebody will take on this particular task. Because this is something that's obviously not necessarily Hemi protocol engineering related, and therefore somebody who has some time on their hands and finds this an interesting problem could go solve with these tools that we will provide.
right. Pop mining questions. When will the new pop miner algorithm be implemented?
Soon. I don't think I mean, Mac, a lot of that is Max finishing
it's
up some
done.
things.
Honestly, I think it
Okay.
needs to be deployed. Is where we were
Yes.
at.
I guess implemented, yes, if implemented, it's like, yes, already. If, available for everyone
And indeed,
fairly
Alex, it's
soon.
Ultra Max soon. So
Yeah.
Max is real busy, and then we put him on planes and things. So,
Yep.
so yeah. So if he wasn't on a plane, it would be done. But he is on a plane, so it won't be done.
All right. Pop miners, which had their Hemi tokens locked, any idea when they will be tradable for unlocked tokens?
I just don't know that one.
That's okay. That sounded like a Max question, but it was in the list, so I had to ask it. Okay. Oh, you guys are the perfect people to ask this. What is the status of the OG rule, and when will it be available?
I guess I should answer that given I'm working on it. We're still working on the Discord and wallet linking system, which will work. You will click a button in Discord, go to a site, log in with your Discord account, and then verify one or more Ethereum wallets. And this just allows us to link you to a wallet so that we are able to check that you've actually done something on chain. That will mostly be for the having interacted with Hemisopolia and Deimos MiID criteria. And then we need some other parts in the Hemi helper bot for the claim process. So we're about halfway through having the linking system done. I'm working on that along with one of our front-end engineers. So as soon as we have something to share, we'll let you all know.
All right. And the next question is, how does the linking system work, the wallet linking system?
So you will go to a page, log in with your Discord wallet, and you'll log in with your Discord account, and then you can click add wallet. A MetaMask thing will pop up, and you have to sign a message with the wallets that you want to add, and then we'll save that data, and that will then be used with the Discord bot to verify that you control a wallet so that we can then check that you've done something on chain. And this also allows us to use this wallet for rewards, and we can also use this system for other rewards or contests and things in the future.
So would the same system work for like NFTs and whatnot?
Yes, it would.
That's incredible news. The last question I have here. Will there be rewards for receiving the open source contributor role?
I mean, I don't think we have anything specifically decided on that at the moment. At the same time, you want to contribute. Most of us on the team here have been open source contributors in all sorts of things for a lot of years, and honestly, you don't always get immediate, people who contribute to open source, you do a lot of it without getting directly paid for it. I've contributed to lots of things. God knows Marco has, Joshua, like everyone here has done open source stuff both as part of their job and not as part of their job. There's a benefit to being an open source contributor because you're choosing to work on something you think is fun. Like you're doing it because, it is something you like to do and because it makes something that you want do something that you'd like it to do. Focus on that, honestly. And it also gives you something to show off and say, hey, look, I did this. That never hurts. Will we add some sort beyond that? Like, I don't know. Points, rewards is very much not my, department, not where I live, not where I pay my attention. So I can't answer that part, but still, open source contributing is a good thing to do. Full stop.
And well, let's talk about the financials of that. So open source contributing is actually a resume builder, so you're investing in your future. So you should never look at it as I'm doing work for free. I can easily plot my career in honestly my entire career based on open source. And when I send out a resume, it's like, go read my code. So we don't have to have long debates, and either we're going to be working together or not. It really is a good thing. Write some open source code, learn a thing or two, get your name out there.
All right. Oh, I have a couple other questions. Oh, these appear to be for John Greenwood, I believe. When will another NFT marketplace launch on Hemi? Mr. Greenwood, please.
The age-old question. So once again, I'm sorry, I don't have much more to say besides soon. We did have those guys launch about a week and a half ago, and then currently talking to some of the larger entities to get something teed up. So that's all I can say for now.
All right. And this was asked previously, but I've been asked to ask it again. Are there any updates on when governance tools like Snapshot, Aragon will be available on Hemi?
Sure. Similar answer, actually. So in conversations with all of the majors right now, some of this may be delayed slightly by team travel this week. But I think, kind of getting a combination of what specs we need or want for internal use, as well as kind of comparing and contrasting. But all of the majors, Tally, Snapshot, I can't even think of the other name. There's two others as well. We're in touch with in one form or another. So, we should have something relatively soon.
All right. I saw this one in.
That's much better than the answer.
John's answer was something else. Let's just say. I still like the question where you just went, no. Next question. Shit, that was great. John, I saw this in John Greenwood. I saw this in chat earlier. Are there any updates regarding a season 2 of the points program, or anything else you can share regarding points and incentives for the community coming to Hemi?
Sure. So updates on a season 2, etc. Not a lot. I mean, basically still iterating through what that looks like. As mentioned, currently we have a very significant amount of liquid rewards. So providing LP on any of the major pairs, Hemi pairs, etc., will net you some pretty good returns. So, that's one item that we're doing in the interim. Still kind of weighing options on what a future season would look like. So going to be a combination of liquid rewards as well as, demarcated rewards via something similar to points. Haven't made final decisions on that. Basically, as mentioned previously, we're going to be taking all of the feedback from previous seasons and just from kind of industry meta in general, and turning that into something that's hopefully a bit more user friendly, UX, UI, and also much easier to maintain on our side, as scalability of points programs, especially when there's third party providers, it's pretty difficult. So we're working pretty earnestly on that. I don't have tons to update there, as there's a lot of conversations going on. Some of them are out of scope for me as well. So I expect, though, that we'll have something soon. Really just looking to get the kind of meat and the potatoes, the bones, together first, and then we can kind of iterate more on this, give some better details.
And I can add that more contests will be coming to Discord. The ball is rolling on that. I don't have an exact timetable, but thankfully, my associate JCV here is helping put the wheels in motion on that. So hopefully next couple weeks, you'll start to see a lot more activity on the contest side, and we'll get some really cool stuff going. Ryan Charleston, before I hand it over to Alex for community update, do you have anything to share regarding Kaido? I saw a couple questions about that.
Yeah, so if they're referring to the market leaderboard distributions for the token, how many tokens they're supposed to get, it was like 2 campaigns, $10,000 worth of Hemi tokens in each campaign to be distributed 30 days post TV. I believe that was yesterday. We're just logistically trying to put that together. I actually pinged accounting this morning to just get a status update, but yeah, those should be being distributed any minute, any day now.
All right, awesome news.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, continue, please. Sorry.
I was going to say no other updates than that as far as like campaigns or anything like that. But yeah.
All right. I have no, I lied. I have 3 further questions. Holy shit. Okay. Does Hemi contribute or donate to open source projects they use?
I mean, we don't currently financially donate to any open source projects, but you know, if there's anything we can code-wise contribute to any project that we use, we absolutely do PRs if we find an issue and anything like that. Plus, you know, we don't put as much time. I'd like to put more time into BTCD, and I will. That is an open source project that Hemi uses, and while we don't own it, you know, enough of us here have worked on it that I would encourage anyone to, if you feel like contributing to a different open source project, BTCD is there too. But yeah, generally our running procedure is if you use something for your work and you know, are capable of contributing some code to it or have a problem with it that you can fix, do it. Like that's the way open source works. That's the way we work.
Right. Yeah. So I routinely submit PRs to other projects, and I know that Joshua does. I know that Antonio does. So the answer is yes. We contribute with code right now. We are not making any financial contributions, but honestly, I don't think we are using any open source stack where that is even asked of. To be honest.
That's actually another really good point. Like for a lot of open source projects, there's no clear way to contribute financially to it. Because, you know, pick a random open source thing that you use out there. So not, you know, obviously not the biggest things like say like a Linux or you know, GCC or Golang. Although Golang is owned by Google, so who would ever need to contribute money there? A lot of times, if there's just one person or a small team of people working on it, they probably don't have a nonprofit that they set up to accept money for it, or didn't go through the work of getting accepted by the Software Freedom Conservancy or the Apache Foundation or some other open source foundation that can be a parent for it. It's just not actually easy for open source projects to come up with a clear way to accept money. So, I mean, yes, if there's an open source project that you encounter the person who works on it in person, buy them a beer or a coffee or something, but there aren't always easy ways to do it beyond that. And that's a problem for the entire industry. Yes, there's GitHub sponsors, which some use, some don't. If someone uses it, awesome. And but, you know, how do you support open source financially? In a real way, it's not always clear.
All right. Speaking of open source, I feel like you guys will have strong opinions about this one. Why did Hemi decide to open source their code?
Let me
Because
ask that question with a question. Why would you trust your hard-earned money to code that you cannot inspect?
Yep, don't trust any crypto that's not open source. Like fuck that. There's no
literally
good
any and every crypto piece of anything that is not open source is garbage. The end.
Yep. Hell yeah.
I expected a lot more expletives there, but we'll take it.
I mean,
I stole
I'll
your
tell
polite
you
listening,
again.
and I'm
Fuck,
trying to hold it back. I do have a
I-
PhD in swearing, so.
I'm not going to hold it back. Fuck any crypto that's not open source. Like, what's the point?
But now it's
Alright.
actually too bad that Max is not here, because his favorite language, Java, had probably the funniest ever closed source signature issue, where Joshua may remember this because he also used Java. They did not check for nils, so every time you send in a nil as a signature, it was valid. So, so any and every signature was valid if you send in a empty. If you basically send in a garbage result, which was fantastic, and it was it was not found for years. Joshua, do you remember the exact details?
I think that was a really long time ago, so possibly not.
I mean, that sounds like that sounds like a bug on the level of the old Debian random issue, which I know is a favorite bug of Marco's too.
Can you elaborate on what the hell Debian rando is? For those of us who have no idea.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So when you do anything with crypto, especially when you do anything that is temporal, you need very strong entropy. That means your randomness needs to be very random. I know that makes not a lot of sense to a lot of people, but it is very, very important to be actually random instead of pseudo-random. And the Debian random essentially snipped off a whole bunch of bits, aka reducing entropy. And basically, what it came down to is, the answer was always 4. That's the joke we always made, or 42. So that basically the entropy was so low you could guess it essentially always. And anything and everything running on Debian at the time, Debian is a Linux distribution. Anything using, I want to say, OpenSSL was broken. The end. There was nothing you could do that anybody could not hack in minutes because they used a bad random source.
If you're talking about the OpenSSL one, I think that's actually because they removed something related to MD4.
No, they actually had a no, they were using the wrong entropy source, something along those lines. I forget the exact details. But it basically boiled down to the answer was 4 always. So they only had like 6 or 12 bits of entropy. It was pretty fantastic.
All right. Okay. Last question. This is a good one, and I've seen this come up a couple times. For the OG/Hemythic role, if a user joined before the set time, but was banned by the bot from the server, either by accident or infraction, and has since been unbanned, will they still be eligible?
I believe we will be handling that on a case-by-case basis. So if you don't meet 3 of the other criteria and you need that one, you can create a ticket and we'll look into it. If you've been banned for a actual reason, like if you were spamming or you broke one of our rules, we're probably not going to give you the correct role for that. But if you got kicked because the bot did something silly, then we will probably consider it.
All right. Gentlemen, does anyone have any closing thoughts before I kick it over to Alex?
We have a question in the chat. I mean,
Oh,
when Intel
shit.
break. When Intel.
All right. Okay, he's unbanned, so the answer is soon. He's off today and tomorrow. I'm sure he's still going to be on Twitter, but this week he'll be back. I don't know how often, but this week he'll be back. God
Happy
damn
to
it.
read it.
Yeah, it's
What are we paying that intern for if he's off this week?
he took like 2 days off. The kid never sleeps, so he is unbanned, John. He's unbanned. No need to riot. We unbanned him, even though he gave away all Max's hair coins, which was crazy.
Well, why does he sleep on the weekend though?
I don't know. He's
If you have 2 days off, I count 2 days on the weekend.
yeah, I know.
Last I checked, he was an intern, right?
Yeah, he had some really weird story. I just didn't want to deal with the emails, so I just approved it. I'll be perfectly honest. He hit me up so many times. I was just like, yeah, whatever, dude. Do whatever you have
the
to
same
do.
management style I have.
Yeah, basically. I was just like, yeah, I just don't care. Just leave me this shit alone, please. Okay. Closing thoughts, anyone, before we kick it over to Alex.
I don't think I had any coherent thoughts this entire time, so I've got no closing ones either.
All right. That's totally reasonable. Well, shit. In that case, I'm going to hand it over to Alex for a community update.
Yes, thanks, Rick. That will be brief this week again. We have already pushed some news last week, but the main information is Harvesting launch that will be today. Harvesting is a project linked to the Amy Bros NFT collection. Your Amy Bros will serve like a PFP into the game, and they launch their farming game tonight at 9 p.m. UTC time. So it's only an alpha. They say me everybody can play this evening, but it's an alpha. There is some bugs. Don't hesitate to report it, and that's it. After it, I already speak about it last week. We have launched some incentive on EMI Air token pool for liquidity providers. We have maintained this incentive for 1 month, 1 month more. So during all the October months, you can provide liquidity. About it in Air, because we have linked a lot of liquidity to the EMI token, the price action is actually down, but we have opened some debates internally while awaiting the release of our governance tool. We can speak about it and debate about it, and I invite all Air holder to come and join these debates. About it too, if you are alone, you speak a lot about open source since the start of this AMA. But if you are alone, you have an ID, or if you are competencies but no ID, Air can be a good place. We have already helped to connect some people. Sometimes you need a dev with I don't know, Solidity competencies, and you don't know anybody. You can for example meet someone, and maybe he will help you for free, maybe we will give you a price, I don't know, but you can find some connection on Air, and come join and meet the people. I mean, that's all for this week. We have speak about the main. So debates are open on Air, and Harvesting is launched this evening. I don't know. We have Mudokan, the founder of Amy Bro DAO, in the chat. If you have more questions about Amy Bros, don't hesitate to contact him. I mean, it's the best person to answer to all your questions. That's all for me for this week, so thanks.
All right. Let me throw one your way, Alex. When OG roll on the hair server?
We already have an early adopter role. It was at start for 200 first people on the server, and we will distribute it for all our first times. So last week we have our first AMA. So people who was present grab the role. So like in EMI, stay with a good spirit, stay engaged, stay tuned about events, and you maybe will be able to grab the early adopter role.
All right, thank you. I also want to add that for folks building on Hemi, the builder role is always available. Josh, if you don't mind dropping the criteria in chat. It's the channel's currently growing. There's a decent amount of folks now building cool stuff. So please, if you guys have anything you want to build, that's the way to do it. You can talk directly to the engineering team, to Joshua, to other builders, and get some really cool shit going. So with that, thank you all for joining Midweek with us, mostly Midweek with engineering. We will be back to our regularly scheduled program featuring co-founder Max Sanchez next week. Oh, hold on. Oh, God damn it, Alpha. If an alien invites you to a wedding, will you attend? Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I will go to that wedding, Alpha. Okay, so where the hell was I? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you to our amazing mod team who keeps the trains running on time and things calm, and the spammers gladly far away from us all. Thank you to the team for joining us, Antonio, Marco, Josh, Ryan, and of course JCV, who broke the F-bomb rule today, but now we can apparently say that on Midweek with Max, because why not? He's a trendsetter and a trailblazer, and also a black hole scientist. So thank you all. Oh, I love that. For anyone who wrote Hemi, make sure you click on the reward for the misspelling. It's very important. Okay, but anyway, that's it for us. We appreciate it. We'll be back with more Midweek with Max, actually featuring Max next week. And what the hell, we can get back into the rap god role. So prepare your singing voices and instruments and whatever the hell you want to do. You got a week to prep. So we'll see you all next week. Take care, everyone.